like your vest.
It's so cool, right? And you can put so much stuff in there. You wouldn't even know.
It still fits.
You got fat, but still good.
Family.
I swear, if I hear one more word from him, I will kick him in the face.
Wow.
Ugh, that was disgusting.
Welcome back. You heard it up top. We are going to the motherland. Mother Russia, that is, because we are talking Crimson Avenger? No. Ursa Major? No. We're talking a different Russian superhero. That's right. We're finally talking Black Widow. She gets her own film, Marvel Cinematic Universe, only on Normies Like Us, with your hosts, General Colin.
Mikhail Romanov.
Spider Joe.
Ooh.
And this is Russian Jacob. As you can tell from my Russian accent, it's about as good as some of the actors in this, but I'm doing my best.
Doing great. Black Widow, though, as Colin said, it's about dang time. That's what a lot of people have said for the Black Widow solo film. That's what we're talking today on the show. Is it a couple years too late, or is it just what the doctor ordered? I guess that's what we're going to be getting into, but how did we all watch this? Did anybody watch this in theaters? I know it had a big box office, domestic, and also good numbers on Disney Plus. So,
yes, what a great question, Mike. I watched this inside my specially designed skull helmet, which shows me,
Nice.
little movies. I absorbed them very quickly, so it was a home viewing, of course.
Right. That's what I did too. I watched it on the Disney Premium Access, and what's good about that, personally, before reviewing it, which we'll do, is I watched it, and then I was able to watch it again, like in parts before this, if I wanted to refresh something, which I think is a benefit over the theater, because you could just watch it as many times as you want. And as I'm doing laundry, even I got it up on my phone, I can truly be the Taskmaster.
Oh, wow.
As I'm doing all these things in my house.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Joe, how about you?
Oh man, I gotta tell you, I loved the Disney Plus experience here. So we went to Target. We got some microwave popcorn. We got some
Vodka.
dollar candy instead of $5 candy. Yeah, had a couple drinks, sat down on the couch, put our feet up, and watched the movie. And for me, it justifies like how good the movie is in my head, which I know is silly. Like I did pay for it, but it's the same sort of like Wonder Woman effect to me, where it's like, yeah, I'm at home and I'm watching a movie I haven't seen before. It's the best movie ever because of that.
Well, and the thing is too, it's $30 for these Premiere Access. That's like, if you're a couple watching it, that's two $15 movie tickets. That's the same price, so you can't beat that. I mean, if you're a loner like me, then, it's a little more, but that's okay.
But if you do want to watch it multiple times, $30 is cheaper than twice by yourself with parking and snacks. So there is an argument to be made there.
Mike,
for me,
I will say I watched it every day this week since we purchased it. I purchased it on Friday.
Wow.
I've gone through it 4 times now.
Incredible.
Wow.
I only watched it once, but I watched it in my safe house trailer in Norway on a little laptop, but then the generator died, so I had to drive into town and then some other stuff.
You were mouthing the words along in some sort of attempt at character development? Interesting, Jacob.
Yeah.
The first time you'd seen it? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Very cool. So all at home. It did have a good domestic box office. I think Disney Plus numbers are all international, but I think it's done combined over like 110, 120 million.
Nice.
Up to this point, which is pretty good for, pandemic. Would it have done better in 2020? I don't know.
I think 215 was the last number I saw.
215 at this point. Yeah, I guess I was looking at early reports. Cool. But again, as we know, this was supposed to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We'll get into all the ways that it kind of plays into this or doesn't. And I don't know. What do you say we just jump into it? Superhero landing, everyone? Everyone likes those, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm about to do a sick pose.
Normies Like Us. Poser.
You don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives. Before I was an Avenger. Before I got this family. I made mistakes. Choosing between what the world wants you to be who you are.
We're back. We're walking out of the red room. I'm feeling a little brainwashed, but still able to talk about the super spy herself, Black Widow. Little history of the character. First appeared in Iron Man comic book, Tales of Suspense, which wasn't really an Iron Man comic book yet, because again, like the way that Thor was journeying to mystery, they just didn't have named books yet. But she appeared as like an antagonist against Tony Stark. A lot of the time she would pop up, she would be a love interest for either him or Captain America, always a femme fatale, double cross. All the background stuff we know, Russian, super spy, right? Until eventually they made her a good guy and she joined the Avengers. History of the Marvel movies, obviously we know she first appeared, Scarlett Johansson in Iron Man 2, fucking 20 years ago at this point, guys. Like, not to blow your goddamn minds, but it's been a while, as they say. And here we are, she finally gets her solo movie. Spoiler alert, obviously, but we're gonna cover it all.
Yeah, we'll do the whole thing. Basically, I guess quick plot synopsis. This is taking place after Civil War, right, and before Infinity War. When everybody's on the run, we've had the split of Cap side and Iron Man side. Thunderbolt Ross is chasing her. We learn she has a secret spy family. She reconnects, as we see in the trailer, with her long-lost sister, at which point they go on a mission to take down the Red Room, which created the network of super spies and widows themselves. So, fight the power. But that's kind of our rough premise here.
Yes, I'm a little perturbed that you didn't just start by saying we start with some fucking grunge music. We start with a badass cover of a badass song.
Something
Mike.
Smelled like Teen Spirit early on.
It's a deep cut. I've never heard that one before.
You might not have heard of this song, Normies.
I did enjoy that cover, though, and then that sequence. But we do kind of open in Ohio,
Hell
Shout
yeah.
outs to Ohio.
Shout outs.
It did make me feel nostalgic for 90s Ohio. Okay, so the kids playing with sparklers on the lawn.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
You had blue hair back then, Mike. You were a little androgynous child who
Okay, I have a fun
handstands.
fact.
American-style family.
Fun fact
Backbridges.
here. You guys might know this already, but I'm going to throw it out here. Young Natasha in this movie is played by the daughter of Mila Jovovich and Paul
She looks
W.S.
just
Anderson.
like her.
Whoa.
I did not know that, but we kept saying,
Yeah.
"Wow, she looks just like her."
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
And Ultraviolet.
Well, what a
is kind of
casting
like-
boon, too, because obviously Mila Jovovich, Russian. She was born in an American Air Force base in Russia, spoke Russian in her life and home. You get this amazing young little actress who could just, like, do this so naturally. It's like, oh, my God, you
Wow.
struck gold.
Yeah, her Russian was really good. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So that's fun.
I do enjoy kind of the whole Spy Family intro and rewatching it, knowing
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Like, they are so Midwest. So I want mac and cheese. And it's like, it's so...
Right.
I think that was done really well.
So, if I can, put this in historical context. So, this is very reminiscent, actually, of a TV show, one of my favorite TV shows ever, The Americans, right? Which is, I've mentioned it before on here, I think, but if you're interested in like Soviet Union, Cold War history, The Americans is a great show to watch. But basically, they actually had these undercover, Soviet agents that were disguised as American families, and they were doing all kinds of spy stuff. But they literally and they went to such extremes because if you were found out, like, it would be really bad. So, if you're interested in this setup, check out The Americans. It's a great show.
There's kind of a historical basis for this kind of premise.
Totally.
essentially, is what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
very cool. That's very cool. I think...
What do you guys
Yeah.
think of the special effects in this scene? We get some de-aging Joe, Rachel Wise, our mummy sweetheart, basically looking like that era of Rachel Wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how good that's getting. Like, the first couple times they were using that technology, like back Rogue One days, did not look great. And now it's like, yeah, you can just do that whenever you want, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it looked really good, and even David Harbour, like, he looks totally different, and it's kind of amazing. So, I got to
David
give him
Harbour
props for that.
begging them to use that for every movie he's in going forward.
Right. He looked younger than season 1 of Stranger Things, basically.
Yeah, it was crazy to go from, let's say, Clue, Tron Legacy, Star Wars, to where we are now with Ego. Looked great, I think, and this is even better. So good job on the de-aging. Maybe it's scary for the future of humans in cinema, like down the road. But for now, yeah, it looks good.
I'm terrified. Can I ask you guys just general thoughts? Did you like this movie after we were talking about waiting for it so long?
Who's gonna kick it off? Yeah, Jacob.
For me, I liked it. I thought it was like basically solidly in the like it's fine category of Marvel movies. So like, this is they're normal. It's not magic, not super science like Iron Man or anything, but it's just normal spies and stuff. I thought it was pretty good. Nothing amazing, but nothing terrible either. So it's kind of maybe a little above average.
I think, I'm in the same camp where I think it's fine. There's elements of it that I really like, particularly Elena. Like, we'll probably touch on this more later, but I think she's great, and I'm looking forward to seeing that character in the future a lot. But then there's other issues with certain things in the plot that, could have been a little stronger. Winter Soldier, Civil War, I mean, it is not, but it's like that spy movie kind of vein. I think it's successful, but not my favorite.
Winter Soldier is probably the one I would compare it to most of the previous MCU movies, and I don't think it's as good as Winter Soldier, but and it's also, I mean, it's a Bourne movie, right? It's got the same plot as the Bourne movies, and I don't think it's as good as the Bourne movies either, but it's pretty good.
No, but it's interesting, Jacob, that the marketing was like, it's a Mission Impossible movie. No, it's a Jason Bourne movie. But Joe, general thoughts. Did you like or not like?
I mean, general, like, totally surface level, I thought it was better than I expected. You get all of the check marks that come with Marvel movies. You're going to laugh. You're going to see some general heartbreaking or character teasing moments, and you're going to get good action. I think we got all of those things. Some of the plot gets a little rough for me, like in the second half, but overall, it was better than I expected.
Same. Ditto. I mean,
Definitely
almost word for word, buddy.
Better than I expected for sure. Yeah, I think that's a good kind of qualifier too, because we did wait a year on it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think...
Well, I was just going to say, listeners of these other episodes, we did Falcon Man, Captain Falcon Man. We've done a where we talked about how we started Loki. We've done an episode on WandaVision. Almost every one of those episodes, we all kind of said, God, it's going to be hard to go back to one of these just grounded spy Marvel movies, huh?
Right. Well, I think that's the thing with the MCU. They don't really make bad movies anymore. Like, I think they've made a couple, like Thor 2 wasn't very good, but that was so long ago. Like, nowadays, with Kevin Feige in control, they don't make bad movies. They make good movies, and they make, like, pretty good movies. And I think this was pretty good. It was entertaining all the way through, and that's about as much as I could ask for,
Couple twists and turns. I said in the I think, if it surprised me, it's a winner. Guys, it's a winner. There was some fucking surprises in this film.
Yeah. And like, a lot of the staple of the MCU, the chemistry between the core cast is very strong. Again, maybe a weak villain issue, maybe twice in this movie, but we can discuss that.
Maybe
but overall,
the villain promised in the trailers isn't actually in the film at all.
Yeah, things like that. But overall, the core cast is very likable. Natasha Romanoff is theoretically her last appearance in the MCU. I think pretty strong.
Yeah, I think the casting was great with the family. My biggest complaint actually would be that this movie just should have came out in 2017, and I care less about what happens to Black Widow before Infinity War now than I would have. Like, if this came out after Civil War, it would have made more sense to me. Like,
come on, Joe, I see you making face over there. When you watch these movies now, Joe, you're never going to watch this in release order. You're going to put it before all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick it wherever I want, and that's kind of what I love about it, because comic books have annual issues that happen whenever they happen in that character's history. Like, there are some comics that, for fuck's sake, they're making a sequel to The Long Halloween, like, now. That book came out 20 years ago. With comics, you can kind of take that opportunity, take a character, tell a story you've never told before in a different time in their history. I love that. I want so much more of that from the MCU. Like if you're gonna make these kind of like grounded spy movies, give me a fucking Secret Avengers movie with like Hawkeye, Falcon, Bucky and Natasha. Like throw teams
know
like
how they
that
got
together
their
and give me these
Quinjet,
kind of
Joe.
random adventures. Yeah. And you want to throw those little like, oh look, it's the vest she's wearing in another movie. Fine,
Hans
that's fun
Dice?
for
You mean Hans
eagle-eyed
Dice?
fans.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I needed to know where that came from.
Yeah, those are. It's real Hans Dice situation there. Good call, Colin. But yeah, no, I like that these movies can happen at any point now. You know what I mean? I think we've seen that with like Loki and Black Widow. Like you can go anywhere in this timeline whenever you want.
Yeah, I think for Loki, it makes a little more sense to me because it's about like, he's out of time, so it kind of makes sense. It could be any time. With this, I mean, on rewatches, I will watch this after Civil War because it feels almost like a direct sequel to the events of that, right? It's the connective tissue between Civil War and Infinity War where you kind of see what she was doing in between those two movies. But it's like there's really no stakes. Like she's not going to die in this movie because you already know how she dies. Not that there's normally stakes in these superhero movies where you think they're going to die or anything, but there's even less in this one.
Yeah, and that is interesting to think of.
Would you have watched that at any point and think like, oh no, Black Widow's in trouble?
No,
Like,
yeah.
no, you're gonna
True.
just gonna do her poser move and that's it.
Yeah,
I was thrilled that they didn't kill Red Guardian. I mean, that was like my big win is that like they didn't kill off some of those characters that they easily could have like, yeah, it's a one and done. It was a fun little thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about Red Guardian. I think for a little bit, David Harbour. I think he's very charismatic in this. I like how goofy he is. Yeah. What do we think about him?
Alexei Shostakov.
Yeah.
A different interpretation. All the prison tats and stuff. Yeah.
He has Karl Marx tattooed on his knuckles, which is
that true?
hilarious.
I didn't see that.
I don't know if you noticed that, but he has the words.
I want to bring party back to the party. I mean, lines like that, you're just like, wow.
It's talking about.
I don't know how
Captain
this.
America.
Yeah, in the '80s when he was still frozen in ice, but I'm not sure how this fits in historically to real world Russia because. The backstory when they're in Ohio, it's in 1995. Well, the Soviet Union fell in 91, I think. So it doesn't really make sense that they would still be in America. And also the whole Dreykov and the Red Room. I don't really know what's going on with the government in Russia there, but it doesn't
he's almost like Putin, right? He is Marvel's Putin is essentially what they're attempting there.
I guess so, but I don't
CIA
think he's
agent who
supposed to be the
becomes a party
president
leader.
of Russia. I think he's more of a top
it's
secret
less
guy.
government, more. Yeah, it's more like shadow government. Like this is more like New World Order than
kind of how Red Skull was like Red Skull was like hiding in the Nazis, but he was
the
like,
real
secret
Hitler.
Nazis.
Yes, you're right. What a strange world the Marvel universe is.
But I guess if Cold War technically is done in, when the wall goes down in 91, 90, it's like, well, we still need you there to get their weird superhero tech as a shadow organization. So like they're still there. Not on behalf of Russian government, but of a Russian
actually
national
Hydra
organization.
at the time.
Yeah, right. It's very confusing. But Red Guardian's cool. I like his tattoos. I like I said, maybe when Captain America was time traveling, they ran into each other. Or maybe it was a different Captain America. Who knows? But I do wish he had a moment to save the day. I would love if they put that in. Yeah, I would love to see that. He doesn't get a hero moment is my problem with him. I just want to get that out there.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say on the Captain America thing, there's a fan theory I saw online that maybe he fought Isaiah Bradley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Could have been a different Captain America,
Yeah,
but I guess this Red Guardian, normally in the comics, he's not super powered. He's just very Russian, right? Like, is that generally?
It's exactly how it's presented. He's just Russia's Captain America. There's Vindicator is Canada's Captain America. You wouldn't believe how Marvel just just singles it on these things. Yeah, amazing adaptation. Not a cool character, Joe. I mean, not a good villain in the comics. And we get other implications of characters. Rachel Weisz plays the Iron Maiden, who's like an Iron Man analog. There's a Crimson Dynamo reference. And the person he arm wrestles is Ursa Major, who's the guy who can turn into a bear like the Hulk. So
That big dude is Ursa
I
Major?
did not realize that was Ursa.
he says,
Major.
"Ursa, come here."
Ursa.
And, you know, then they start talking to each other.
Oh,
we need a
okay.
Russian
Wow,
Avengers
that's a good touch.
TV show with set in
The,
like
Red-
the
the
90s.
Red Guard.
The Red
is
Guard,
what they're
yes.
called.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, no, that's cool. Yeah, good, cool interpretation of this character, I think. He's very goofy. But again, he's just always like remembering the glory days. Kind of, my suit doesn't fit. He's always getting beat up. Just one day to actually be the hero. One moment, I think, is what he would have needed. But he's very entertaining.
Well, here's what I'll say, Mike, for a moment where he's a hero. Because this film, like I said, has moments that are surprises. Not just twists. There are moments where I'm going, okay, well, you know, the shot of him in the bathroom where he's pulling on his suit. I'm like, Jesus, this almost kind of looks like the Joker. Like a weird, intimate scene of a loser. Like this. God, this could almost be like Ang Lee's Ice Storm. This is, like a weird family drama where the dad's like drunk in the bathroom. Or the scene, I'm sitting there going, you know, oh, what an easy, obvious writing cutaway to have the girls split up after that argument. Red Guardian says, I'll go talk to Yelena. And you're like, you're not actually going to see their conversation. He goes in and they show us the dumb little conversation. They stick with these characters. That's a very interesting thing for a Marvel movie that they usually don't do.
Yeah.
I like the...
Yeah, I think it subverts expectations pretty well. Like, it has some self-referencing moments, the whole poser bit. I mean, it's like the dysfunctional Incredibles. And I kind of dug that vibe.
The dysfunctional Incredibles. Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
And it's like another great movie about family. You know, after Fast 9, you know, I'm really big on family. Dom showed up and saved Black Widow at the end. That was cool. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And with Red Guardian, I like the reoccurring bit where he's basically always trying to have these heart-to-heart talks, but like they go wrong for some reason or another because he's like trying to talk to Black Widow, and it's like, oh, she's really the mom in disguise. And he's trying to be a father, but he's like really bad at it, and he's like kind of dumb. But
that's why I just wanted that one moment where he kind of nails it, and he does with that conversation Colin was saying with Yelena, where they're singing American Pie.
He sings the song, Mike.
Yeah, and that's
he
very
nails
sweet.
it.
Yeah. So I guess that's his moment.
I mean, he's the one who fights Taskmaster too. Like Black Widow and Taskmaster barely tangle. I mean, the big fight that they have is with Red Guardian.
Yeah, the after the bridge, really the big tussle is Taskmaster and Red Guardian. True.
We have to go back to where it all started.
Where did you think I was all this time?
We have unfinished business.
My girls are the toughest girls in the world.
I'm sorry. We had our orders and we played our roles.
It wasn't real.
It was real to me. To me, you were everything.
Is that our transition to Taskmaster? The other.
I love this
the
because
villains?
let me ask you this. I think this is the perfect transition for it, Mike. Because Joe, I wanted to ask you this: calling this character Taskmaster, comic or normies that aren't into comics, you know, a character with a long history, pops up in a lot of video games, a lot of supplementary material now. People might know Taskmaster. If you don't, a weird skull-faced guy who can mimic your reflexes, right? Very cool. Joe, the character we get shares so little in common with that comic book character, but is a guardian of a red room. Why wouldn't you call this character Red Guardian or Red Guardian 2 or something like that and just save it for that?
Yeah, I don't, because Taskmaster has a sell to it, right? Like, Taskmaster is in the Avengers game. It is a character that people have been waiting to see. I mean, like, I don't like them in this movie all that much, but I'm holding out hope that we can see this character again. And, like, the thing about the morality of Taskmaster is they're a villain, but they're a villain the same way Deathstroke's a villain. You know what I mean? Like, they're a mercenary for hire. They go to the highest bidder. I don't see a world where the Widows are going to all of a sudden become Avengers or, like, superheroes. I think they're going to use the skills that they have to get by. So, like, Taskmaster running a bunch of widows as her like backup and becoming kind of this army for hire. Like, I'm here for that. And I know that's me kind of like imagining something we could see instead of seeing it.
Does that mean maybe Emily Van Camp from fucking Captain Falcon? Maybe she's one of these, partnered up with one of these ex-Black Widows or something. Maybe that's what's going on with her.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah.
Well, the
but like ultimately it's a weird take on the character, but we do get the mimic. They say she's a mimic. She can mimic everything perfectly. We get the sword. We get the claws. We get the web
sword
swinging.
And shield,
It hits some of the beats. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what it takes from the comic version is the mimicking, which is cool because just seeing all the different Avengers fighting styles combined into one person is pretty cool. But the real villain is really not Taskmaster. It's actually Dreykov, right? And what's interesting about this, I don't think he's a great villain, but Marvel, they're known for like these conflicted villains that have like kind of relatable causes, right? This villain, it's like the opposite, where it's like one of the most evil, reprehensible people, that we've seen in the MCU. So I like that they just kind of go with just an all-out evil person for this one.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts about Dreykov, but to tie that together with Taskmaster, it's kind of the origins and the plot device of this movie that kicks it off is the Budapest incident that they're always talking about, is how Natasha became an Avenger, where she had to work with Clint to take out Dreykov. She thinks she kills Dreykov, and part of that is she's intentionally also making his daughter part of the collateral damage, is like a necessary cost of war, right?
That is awesome. It's like the coolest twist they've pulled in a while, honestly. Tying her so much to Nat's past.
Yeah, and the fact that Natalie, kind of a lot of people say she's like the heart of the Avengers and the moral compass, right? And like, the fact that in order to become an Avenger, she willingly attempted to kill a young girl, that's pretty heavy. And so now Taskmaster, right, has been gender bent, and now that's our new version, been kept alive barely and turned into this fighting mimic machine. And then we find out Dreykov isn't dead, and then that's kind of what Natasha and Yelena go on. I think Dreykov, just a bad guy. I wanted him to go out like a sniveling, groveling piece of shit, and he doesn't. He doesn't go out as pathetically as I wanted him to. I thought he'd get
eaten by pigs.
Something
they
like
had
that.
They had to do something because of the pheromone lock. They couldn't. One of them couldn't kill him directly, so instead Yelena uses the thing to blow up the helicopter, right? And then they all blow up, but they couldn't like stab him because of the pheromones, right?
True. Well, after Natasha breaks her nose, which is very cool, and I very much enjoy the scene where she's so defiantly like, "Yeah, screw you, buddy," and he's like punching her, and she won't stay down. Like, I really like that characterization moment for Natasha.
Yes,
and I'll say, Richard Lawson, critic at Vanity Fair, has done like this whole piece on, the women empowerment behind it, how pheromones is a very interesting thing to tie to a female franchise here and stuff. I thought that was all really cool. That the widows are controlled, the lock, as Jacob described, that Dreykov was using. Why not? Sure.
Can I also? Oh wait, Joe or Jacob, you gonna say something?
Oh no, go ahead.
I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, or if this is going in a political direction, right? Not political, but Weinstein, not to speak the name of the devil, piece of shit, right? I got a lot of vibes of these themes around like the Me Too.
You can't act. You literally cannot stand up against them, Mike.
Literally taking women, stripping them of their power, and forcing them to do things they do not want to do to further your own agenda, right? That's fucking crazy.
Right.
And I wanted him to go out more violently than he did. That's kind of what I want. Because he was so despicable. And like Jacob said, a pure villain, which was refreshing. I just wanted him to get more than fireballed.
Yeah. There's definitely some themes of like, important man in power and misogyny and all that. And I do like the whole scene with him and Scarlett Johansson at the end, where it's like at first she's wearing the mask, right? And that's also a very Mission Impossible thing. Mm-hmm. But he sees through that right away. But then we learned that wasn't actually the twist. There was that was the red herring twist, and the actual twist was that she just has to sever the nerve to get rid of the pheromone thing. So it's like like you said, there's a lot of twists and turns, and like a couple of them definitely caught me off guard.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I think some stuff was like really telegraphed. Like the second you see that Taskmaster was in the explosion when she was a little girl, it was like, okay, well, that's Taskmaster. That mystery is dead now because it's like telegraphed a mile away. And then by the time you actually get to the Russian helicarrier cloud base, like then the twists start working really well for me. So it's kind of like, all right, I wrote off part of this in the middle, and then it picks it back up in a really surprising way.
And actually, the twist that got me was that when Melina, the mom, turns them in, I was like, wait, I was really confused. I was like, this doesn't make sense. Why is she turning them in? Like, and then I was like, oh, it was part of their plan. But so I guess that kind of got me because it just didn't make sense why she was doing that.
Well, she did torture a pig, so I guess her morality was still gray at that point.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm like, does she really care so much about this job that she's going to turn in her whole like family? But no, I guess not.
Is she redeemed by her complicity in the plot by the end? Do you think Melina is redeemed? I don't think so.
Both her parents were complicit. I mean, the whole time, basically. So I don't know if they're redeemed.
But think about how it's presented in the film, Jacob. We get that scene where Alexei brings them both close and says, your ledgers must be dripping with blood. I am so proud of both of you. Yelena, the youngest assassin ever in the world.
Right.
Natasha, I can't remember what they said for her, but it's just you're just like, Jesus Christ, his glee.
Yeah, and you see Melina like being a good mom in the beginning, and then it's like, oh, just kidding, we're gonna give you to this like psycho to be mind controlled for the next 20 years or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you can forgive that exactly, but
no.
Yeah.
No, you understand both their arguments, and you understand that Yelena was so young, and I say we transition to a little Florence Pugh talk for a second.
Yeah, please.
That she would hold on to it still. I would, I would say, just to get personal, the age difference in divorces, as it happened in my family, between me and my brother, we handled it very different ways. You totally see that dynamic, and they play it like a divorced family eating a dinner in that one scene. And Yelena's just shooting those shots of vodka, man.
Yeah, and I mean, when she says it was real to me, it still feels real to me, damn it, the wrestling meme guy. But like that really hit me, where it's like the best part of my life was fake and nobody told me. Because you get this sense in the beginning that
fair.
Natasha knows because, Melina says, I'm sorry, that this was going to happen. But, Yelena had no idea. And it is heartbreaking to see her go to her room like a child because she's like, you're a spy, but then 3 years of joy, and even that was a lie. Like, how heartbreaking!
Right. That's it. And Mike, the pictures at Christmas were fake.
Oh, yeah. We did them all.
Those 3 years weren't even good.
And even in that scene, you have Red Guardian talking about it, like, "Oh yeah, it was so boring being in Ohio for 3 years," and it's like, "Oh, you telling me the best part of my life was like boring to you, and you hated it?"
Yeah, that's heartbreaking and
wild.
Yeah, so again, something I'm not expecting from this type of movie. Like, was the Black Widow movie supposed to break my heart that way? No, but it did.
Right.
And
I love the dynamic between the sisters, Yelena and Natasha.
Yes.
And I thought Florence Pugh was great, and it's just like that little sister, dynamic there, where she's kind of annoying, but she's still she wants to be accepted by her older sister too. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
One of the strongest performances in the whole MCU, as far as I'm concerned, like way up there. I would say top 5 performances.
And Joe, as another one of these legacy characters comes in, we're getting our second Black Widow. We've gotten a slew of seconds recently. That's kind of where Marvel's headed or whatever. What do you think? Are you excited to see her stick around? And how long before she drops that accent Wanda style?
I don't know. I think she'll keep it longer than Wanda. She seems pretty committed to it. I think she'll rock it.
Ooh, I hope not.
No, keep it.
Let's talk about the twist in the timeline here, right? So originally, Black Widow was supposed to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I would argue that coming out after was a better move. Because the introduction of Valentina in Falcon and the Winter Soldier was stronger than the post-cred scene of
I agree with that.
Black Widow. Like, Black Widow, if you hadn't seen this character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier to kind of give that clear, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm recruiting a new Captain America for myself, basically. You're going to be a U.S. agent. Yeah, like if you get that in a more real way than kind of like the schmarmy performance in the post-cred scene. Having seen her in the show already, I was here for it. If I didn't see it in the show, I would have been like, "Ooh, that was kind of cringy."
Yeah, Joe, I was surprised to even learn that like that scene was supposed to come first because it feels like the Winter Soldier scene should have come first. Like you said, it's a better introduction, and now you kind of see them putting the pieces together for the next phase, and you have basically a lead into the Hawkeye TV show where she's like, "Don't you want to go after Clint Barton, who killed her?" I don't know what her reasoning is, but I
We
thought that
all
was
remember
Responsible for your
got
sister's
dropped
death.
on the space planet while getting the 6 stones. Again, you have to wonder, how much does the public know about this stuff? Like
Clint
Clint
Barton
came back
could
and
kill
like,
himself first.
Black Widow had to sacrifice herself for what
Yeah,
was
when
called
she-
the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
when
Going through
wouldn't
like
they
this
tell
Magruder tape,
people-
you're like, what?
Yeah, that's why I'm
Think
confused
about what
why
high
Yelena
school
would
be like in that universe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we see it a little bit with Spider-Man, but why would Yelena even believe that Clint Barton like killed Black Widow? I don't know. So maybe it'll make more sense in Hawkeye, but it was interesting.
We'll see. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm fine with the setup or whatever. I think the real exciting thing here is, Colin, we're either heading to the Thunderbolts or the Dark Avengers, one of the two, right? So another kind of like low key moment in this movie that we don't really, it's a throwaway line. In the beginning, when Black Widow is on the run, she's looking at Thunderbolt Ross and she says, "You don't look too good. Looks like you've had your third bypass now." In the comics, before he becomes the Red Hulk, his heart is failing, and that's why he becomes the Red Hulk. And that's why he does the experiment to himself. So I think we're gonna get Red Hulk, U.S. Agent, Black Widow.
We
I mean,
saw
it's coming
Abomination
together.
back in Shang-Chi trailer.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's all lining up to in my eyes.
And we're getting, new Hawkeye in the Hawkeye TV show. Kate Spade, right? Is that her name?
Yeah,
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop.
Yes, Kate Bishop.
Quickly, we've been talking about how the other Marvel shows have made at least some of us, especially me, care about characters I don't care about. If they can do it with Hawkeye, they're really something magic happening. But I agree with Joe that this movie coming now as opposed to before Falcon and Winter Soldier was good. Because we hear Thunderbolt Ross, a lot of people were positing that, or the Dark Avengers. But to say be introduced to even Florence Pugh earlier than Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think it's better to even introduce her later, because you would go after your Captain America first. Okay, we got a Cap, now let's get a Black Widow. I don't know, maybe that's something there.
I also feel like we would have been hating on Sharon Carter's performance a lot more than we already were if we had seen Frances Pugh beforehand.
Yeah, true.
You guys like her? Are we all Midsommar fans? I like Florence Pugh. I think she's got a very
Midsommar, Little Women,
Zach Braff's Bed, fact Jacob and I love to point out.
Yes, 21-year age difference between them. Not that I'm judging or anything. But I just think it's
but again, when you told me that and I went to Google, how old was Florence Pugh when Scrubs came out? And Google auto-filled the answer 5 years old. Other people are asking these questions.
So she was as old as the candy bar that she ate in this movie that Natasha had stashed.
Right. She was also so Midsommar, Little Women 2019. Also before that, she was in Fighting with My Family, the Paige WWE movie. She played Paige. So check that one out as well. That was 2019 was her breakout year.
So this is my official introduction to her as an actress in not a trailer. I did see the Wrestling with My Family trailer. We didn't see it. So this is my introduction to her. She's my favorite thing about the movie. She's what I'm looking most forward to going forward. Is I love the character, I love the accent, the dry humor. She was great. She really stole it. And if she's carrying the torch of Black Widow, or is it going to be Black Widow or is it going to be White Widow? I don't want to use the Black Widow name, but is that what they're going to do?
It'll just be Black Widow if it's anything.
All right. Well, that's okay. But I am excited to see her. And I did notice one thing that I want to see. No one else has noted this online. And I think she has a secret superpower. Okay? So I'm going to pitch this to you guys right now. I think that Yelena has a superpower of doors, because at 3 times in this movie, she uses a door offensively. She kicks the door into the lady in the alley before she gets
Oh,
the
cool.
spray. She uses the car door to take out her motorcycle and throws Natasha into a door in the apartment, while also being able to sit in an open helicopter door, shooting a rocket launcher while not getting hit by the right.
any of the
There's
bullets.
something with doors here.
Not
I'm gonna keep
burning your leg off. Now-
It still fits.
Oh my god.
I never watched it once. Come and drink.
Rise, you workers of salvation. Family. Back together again.
Now, Mike, you bring up an interesting point because again, we talked about it. This is the action one. You know, some of the Marvel movies are sci-fis. Yeah, some of them they say are horrors. Not really. These are the action ones. What did you think of the action in this movie, Mike?
Rewatching it, it's pretty solid. You know, I want to pitch to Joe to like the Taskmaster stuff. I was able to be like, oh, that's a Spider-Man thing, that's a Bucky thing, that's a Black Panther thing. What do you think about the action in this?
Yeah, I think the call-outs, like you just said, worked perfectly. Some of the CGI looked a little iffy to me, to be honest. Like
sky
some of the
battle
explosions.
When they pull a little
Yeah,
fallout,
but
it's like, oh, no.
It's a little too much, yeah. But I who doesn't love a good prison break, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Hobbs and
thought,
Shaw.
yeah, the prison break sequence is great. I think the fight scene between the sisters was really good, even though I didn't
Doesn't
totally
make
understand why they were
sense,
fighting.
but it was good.
Yeah.
They
But,
were trying to both meet each other. It does
Siblings.
not make sense
Siblings.
narratively.
No, but they didn't trust each other, so I guess they got to beat the shit out of each other for a couple
They
minutes.
say you don't know somebody till you face them in combat. Truly, right?
Yeah, I thought overall, like, the choreography was pretty good. I didn't think it was amazing. Like, there's definitely better action in like John Wick or even Mission Impossible. The bathroom scene with Henry Cavill is a better action
Atomic
scene
Blonde
than
to
anything
go
here.
like in that vein of spy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
But-
female led.
Yeah, but I thought it was like, it wasn't terrible or anything. I thought it was pretty good, and I thought there was some editing. I thought it was over edited at times, and the shaky cam was too much at times. Some same problems that the Bourne movies have sometimes. So
Yes, but I do wonder if these quarantine movies and Lockup have been over edited as people just sort of sit and gestate on them too long.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
Jacob, I've never seen a Kate Shortland movie. This new director, she's done a couple features before this. Nothing actiony or to this sort of scale, but there was a lot said when she signed on initially that other female directors turned this down because they wanted to direct everything. They didn't want the Marvel house-style action people to kind of come in and take over and run it or whatever. Again, I would just say, do you think there's anything distinctive to it? I like that you guys were able to call out the Taskmaster stuff. I personally was not in any of my viewings. That's awesome, but the dodgy CGI, all that stuff. I just wish there had been more of a voice to this one.
yeah. Well, there's kind of a viral Twitter meme of the shot on the bridge when she does the leg wrap throw thing. That's like her special
And then
move,
Taskmaster
and
does it
Taskmaster
again.
flips it around and does it.
Yeah.
There's 7 cuts in that little double move. There's 7 cuts, and so people are kind of like taking the piss out
You
of it
should
for
have
that.
just
But I
done
thought,
a single take maybe as an
Yeah.
action choreography moment. I see what they're saying.
right, and I think
I don't have a problem with the choreography. It's the camera and
Yeah,
the editing.
yeah,
to
the
me
choreography
really
would be
butchered it.
good if we could tell what's going on more of the time. But I think I've been spoiled by like the John Wick movies, which have really good action choreography and camera. So I think, it's not great, but it's passable.
Can I just say real quick? Here's my issue. Every director now to do action comes in with this mindset of, if it's a man's movie, I want it to look like John Wick. If it's a woman's movie, I want it to look like Atomic Blonde. Here's the issue. Both those movies are directed by the same person, you fools.
Yeah.
The creative teams that handled stunts and doing effects like that, a lot of them are just getting hired to be directors now. So you don't
Right.
have a lot of those coordinators or stunt talent
Well, and
to
the John Wick
do
guys
the real
came
shit
from-
anymore.
they came from a stunt background, right? So
Yeah,
and I did
they
read
did the
something
Civil War fight. They did the airport fight.
really?
As second unit directors.
So I was reading, like you said, Colin, a different woman was interested in directing this, but then Marvel basically told her, "Oh, don't worry about the action scenes," and she said, "Okay, well, I'm not interested then because I want to do the whole thing. Like, I want to do the action scenes and everything." So,
Okay.
I don't know.
A double issue. I want your guys' opinion on this. I think that's strike one. You know, where they'll only let certain people do the whole thing. Your Black Panther directors, where they go, "Okay, Ryan Coogler, you've got this handled. We will let you do the action." That's bad. And two, all these people are clamoring for, well, I didn't like that there wasn't a Tony Stark, or I didn't like that Steve Rogers doesn't come in and high five everybody, or where was Clint giving finger guns to everyone. The double-edged sword, I think, for Kevin Feige with these female directors is, I'm gonna call him out here. He doesn't let them do the action stuff, and he falls into the trap of girls get it done, where he's like, okay, here's the thing with Captain Marvel and Black Widow. I'm actually not going to let anybody cross over or touch any of their stuff because it would actually be a detriment to those films. And I should get brownie points for letting the girls do their thing. When really, there's a million opportunities where you could sneak other people in. You can make Kobe Smulders the Rick Mason, O.T. Fagbanel her contact, and it doesn't change a fucking thing, you fool.
This kind of putting things in a separate sandbox, right?
He plays in two separate sandboxes, Mike. He goes, I'm going to appease both crowds, everybody and woke people. And if you're a woman movie, I have to appease woke people, unfortunately.
Right.
And you can feel him apologizing for it. Don't apologize for it. Just do it.
Well, I think it's part of a larger criticism of the kind of house style of MCU, where it's like, do directors get like their own creative control, or is there a certain amount of oversight? And it does seem like some get more, like Taika Waititi gets more, and James Gunn, and then even with the Eternals, like, they're bragging about, oh, we shot these on like real locations and we just let her do her thing. And it's like, well, maybe you should do that like all the time. But
Chloe Zhao convinced us to shoot outdoors, Jacob. And you're like, convinced you to use locations?
Wow.
Right.
You make movies.
But they like to have that consistent style, I guess. They don't want anything to be too different from the other MCU.
Yeah, I mean, Big Mac's got to taste the same in Jakarta as it does in New Jersey, right? I mean, they want to have that set. And I imagine for a lot less experienced directors, too, it's like, here's the stunt team. And, like, even if it's like, oh, you're in charge of it, they have, like, some stunt coordinator who's like, hey, director, I suggest this heavily. And it's like, yes, that would be cool, And so it's...
And Colin, like
Kevin
you were
Feige
saying,
has his hand on his shoulder.
Yeah, he's right there. Yeah. A little baseball hat.
With Black Panther, which is a movie that I like, the action wasn't very good in that.
Especially
like,
the final fight was actually really bad.
Yeah, the CG in that was pretty iffy, but so all the action in this was better than that, I think.
Yes.
One action scene, they're in Budapest driving motorcycles, and I swear, like, I've seen this in Mission Impossible. Like, it felt very much like a scene that I've seen 3 or 4 times in the past 5 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of Mission Impossible stuff, a lot of Jason Bourne stuff that's in this movie. It's kind of
James Bond on the rooftops. That reminded me a lot of
right.
Daniel Craig.
Ritualize a woman who's married to James Bond right now, Daniel Craig. I mean, they are filling it with these little things.
Yeah, she's watching.
They
James
watch
Bond.
Moonraker, literally considered the worst James Bond movie, Mike. And spoilers, Normies, spoilers.
Yes.
If you don't want to hear this, Taskmaster is Olga Kurylenko, an actress who I only know from the other worst James Bond movie, Quantum of Solace.
Yes, that's correct.
So it's made of all Bond's widows.
It's made of Bond's spare parts, Mike,
Bond
and
widow,
that is fascinating.
I mean, it has all the tropes of Bond, Bourne, Mission Impossible with the mask. That's totally taken from the fourth one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that because it's spy.
Can we jump on this person real quick? The star of the movie, who we haven't talked about. How does Scarlett do at her own goddamn gun show, guys? Jacob, is she still in Marriage Story mode? Is she trying to go for those Oscars in this thing?
Well, I think it's like probably the most characterization that Black Widow's gotten in a single movie, so that's good. But I think she's a little overshadowed by some of her family members, like Yelena. But I think she does a good job. It's it's kind of weird that she's the only one who's not doing a Russian accent. But I guess she, as a character, made that choice to totally take the Russian out of her.
Natasha, you're so westernized.
Yeah.
He says at one point, you go like, okay.
Right. But no, I thought she did good.
I mean, here's my counterpoint to like any criticism of her. If you look at this like the Winter Soldier, is Chris Evans that great in the Winter Soldier, or is everyone fascinated with Black Widow being the fun person on the side? And like these types of characters are like the straight man. Like Black Widow is the straight man of this movie. She's she's the Ross, the Ted of How I Met Your Mother. Like she's just there to have the other people banter off of her while she is serious and on the mission.
Well, it's interesting because she was a side character in so many of these MCU movies, and now she finally gets her solo movie, but it's more about the family together than just her, which I like.
I can see Joe's.
I love Scarlett.
Yeah. I was just saying.
I'm sorry, Mike. I was just gonna say she's an interesting lady. She's gotten a lot of hot water into some things in the past.
My favorite
she's
Asian
used
actor.
This, well, yes, and male actor. And she's kind of used this press tour as an apology tour for Joss Whedon, talking about how lucky she was to have some incredible lines, as the foundation and basis of this character. Interesting. I don't see a lot of the Avengers 1 Black Widow in this, but I also don't see Age of Ultron sad she can't have a baby Black Widow in this, or Civil War giving a speech at the end about how sad she is that Black Panther's dad is dead in this. So
right. And I mean, she then after this becomes kind of a de facto leading presence of what's remaining after Infinity
sad,
War.
Mike.
Very sad, right? Sad sandwiches.
Yeah.
But I
really
think she's
like
fine in it.
her dynamic with Florence Pugh is really good, and I love when she's like, Yelena's taking the piss out of her for posing and stuff. Like that stuff is so funny. Like, and it just works really well.
Yeah, I guess the best thing in it is the relationship between the sisters. I think that is very strong, especially when finally at the end of the movie they save the day, and she goes over to Yelena and says, "It was real to me too," and they have that moment where they just kind of look at each other and like embrace, and it's that was a good touching moment.
Mike, issues though, and my problem with the film. I'll just get it out here though. What is this movie about? What does this movie say? What is the point and moral of it, right? I think this is a really good movie. If you told me this was the first draft of this movie, I would believe that. It is stuffed with ideas. Now, our bad guy, Dreykov, says a very interesting thing halfway through this movie. Don't you know the biggest commodity in this world is women, missing women, transporting, and we're talking about human trafficking, sex tourism, sex slaves. This movie delves into this topic. A Marvel movie is touching on young women who disappeared, and you're like, oh my God, that's what this movie's about? Now, Mike, you just said this is a movie about family. Yes. Yes, because there's not a lot of the human trafficking stuff in it. So as I'm watching, I'm going, okay, this is a movie about family. All the scenes with her family, they can do anything. You just said that's how this ends. But how it really ends is General Thunderbolt Ross drives up. And because we know where Scarlett Johansson is in the future universe of this, she can't have any of these other characters. So they say, we will face this together. And she says, no, you won't. I'm going to face this alone, actually. See ya.
Yeah.
Okay. That invalidates the entire moral of everything we learned throughout the rest of this. And then I'm sitting and I'm thinking, God, that's what this was about, really? No. This movie leaves you with the last image of what it maybe is about. The lightning bugs again. Something we haven't seen in 2 hours at this point. The metaphor of the lightning bugs, bioluminescence. The final shot of the movie is the lightning bugs again. And I'm going, okay, this is a movie about, even in the darkness, you create your own light, bioluminescence. Is that what it's saying? And you can go, Colin, what a dumb criticism. All those little things you just said can add up to a bigger, grander point, But my question is, what is that point? What is the point of this movie? What does it say other than checkbox? We got to make sure they like Yelena. We got more Black Widows. We got to get in there. You know, we got to do a good acting send off for Scarlet. She's a producer on this, guys. She's really gonna want to do some heavy stuff.
Right.
What is it? What is it about?
Yeah, because human trafficking bad, but we got him. We got him, boys. Girls,
Yeah,
we
you're
got
like,
him, girls.
yeah, like halfway through, you're like, interesting, and
Well,
then they
that's the
solve
thing
it, and
with
you're like,
the-
okay, never mind.
Yeah, I
Mission
think they're a little
accomplished.
out of their depth with the human trafficking because it's
Yeah.
not like in real life you can just do a computer thing and they're all released from their.
Well, they have to
you know,
go and
bonds.
manually release them, but they identified.
Right.
That's a quest that's
the
set up
quest,
at the end of
yeah.
this movie. The other
Oh,
Black
right.
Widows will get to go do that. But like Jacob's saying, we're not waiting for Captain America in our real reality to go throw a shield at, you know, the guy stealing all the young ladies in the world.
Right.
It puts a nice bow on things because it has to. There's not going to be another Black Widow movie with Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if that'll be touched upon in the Hawkeye show. Maybe it will be. Maybe that'll be part of it, and I don't know how it's going to tie in. But yeah, where we're left at the end of the movie is
The family stuff,
Ohana.
Mike. Answer my question there. We, you know, the future of this Scarlett Johansson is she goes to Infinity War. You know, she puts her life on the line. She doesn't die.
Wakanda,
Start
yeah.
at Endgame. She's the saddest person who's ever existed. Are we meant to believe maybe the other 3 members of her family got snapped? You know, is she really at
That's
the
a good question.
Wow.
darkest night of her soul? We just saw
Because-
there is happiness out there for her.
true.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the whole timeline of the MCU, like, this is pre-Infinity War, so there's a 5-year time jump between Infinity War and Endgame. Black Widow was not snapped.
Oh my
we
God,
don't know if her
throw
family
that
was
out. I
snapped.
can't. These are questions I have to answer for my dad, Jacob, when he asks me before he
Right.
goes and sees this, and I'm like, does it matter?
Yeah, well, it's yeah. I do wonder, like, during those 5 years, like, did the other 3 members of her family get snapped? I guess because she doesn't have any more interactions with them in those 5 years.
Will we ever see them in another Marvel project? Just Black Widow 2?
I mean, Yelena, we will. I don't know about the parents.
It depends
Right,
on
but,
how much Twitter talks about David Harbour and Iron
Yeah.
Maiden didn't get to be an Iron Maiden. Like,
Well, then
make it
we're
right.
guaranteed, baby.
But yeah, and then she obviously, I do think it adds characterization to her in Endgame where she sacrifices herself because she's kind of come to terms with certain things in her life. She's gotten closure with her family, so she can sacrifice herself and not feel like she has unfinished business. So that does add a little characterization there, right?
Yeah, I would feel they would have to be snapped then because, like, otherwise you might reach out to that support system when the world is literally ending.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they'll have to explain it at some point, but at this point we just don't know. I know.
I don't think they have to. You could just assume they were snapped or not. It doesn't matter. It's
I need
done.
to know-
It was a one shot. Like that's how I look at it.
I need to know where the vest came from, and I need to know if they were snapped or not. All right.
Yeah. Well, we might see.
How did
we
Han
might
get the
find out
dice?
if Yelena was snapped because, well, that's the other thing is like, the more you think about it, the timeline doesn't make sense because Yelena's going to be probably in the Hawkeye TV show, but this is 5 years. You know, you got to think this movie was set. Not only probably more than 5 years in the past because it's before Infinity Game. So
Infinity
It's like
Game.
8 years.
Yeah.
You're really blowing my mind by asking me to do this math.
right. I mean, it's like Tokyo Drift in the Fast and the Furious. It doesn't really need to fit in. I
Wow,
mean,
Black Widow is the Tokyo
Wow.
Drift of the Marvel
Basically.
universe, is the
Yeah.
pull
Wow.
quote, dude. That's
AKA the
amazing.
most important linchpin film of the franchise.
Duh.
yeah.
AKA the
It's
best
set in
one.
2016.
Wow.
Like it's set in 2016. Infinity War happened in 2018. Then there was a 5-year gap. Endgame
keep
is in
forgetting it's the
2020.
we haven't even gotten to the
MCU
future. I keep
is
just
a little ahead of
subtracting,
us.
Joe. I keep forgetting we're not.
No,
we haven't.
it's not that
reached it
confusing.
yet.
Yeah.
Right, but Hawkeye,
Yeah.
the Hawkeye TV series will be after Endgame, so Yelena should be like 8 years older. She's going to look the same, but I mean, it's
No,
not
she'll
a
get
huge deal.
snapped.
But it's just
Yeah.
Oh, you know who's gonna be mad about that, Jacob? Zach Braff.
But she
he got snapped, and he was like, "Oh man, you better have gotten snapped too, because if you were aging those 8 years, we are done."
no.
if
Yeah.
she got snapped though, she's not aging. She'd be only
That's
a
what he
couple
wants.
years older.
well, I'm sure if she gets
Yeah.
snapped, I'm sure
Well,
they'll mention
that's
it.
what Zach Braff wants, and that's I was snapped, by the way. That's why.
Yeah.
Black
We should
Widow
say
didn't
I'm
come
not
to
even
me
doing
when
this
she
podcast.
sacrificed
I'm
herself.
being controlled by Dracov with everything I've said. I am a Black Widow.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's rumors of like people are thinking, oh, maybe Taskmaster was teaching John Walker how to throw the shield and shit. Because like, it's like, oh, that's what Taskmaster does is like teach the henchmen. Like, so maybe all of those Black Widows and Yelena are like gonna get scooped up by Dreyfus and the Thunderbolts or whatever,
Yeah.
and Taskmaster will be like training the Dark Avengers because she knows all of their fighting styles, right? That could be part of it, I could see how it could kind of fold in, and I kind of like that idea. And then you have Black Widows as your police force of just, that's your muscle, all those Black Widows.
Right.
Oh, that is cool.
I am very interested in this Julia Louis-Dreyfus character because I don't know anything about the comics. I don't know this character from the comics. I don't know what her deal is. In Captain America or the what's it called, Falcon and the Winter
Marvel
Soldier.
17.
Yeah, she seems like she's kind of bad, like she's evil maybe, and she's like starting her own like evil Avengers, or I guess Dark Avengers, by getting U.S. Agent, the bad Captain America. But and then this we see Yelena, who we think is going to be like a good character. We want her to join the real Avengers, but she, I guess, is working for her now.
God,
so I have a lot of
spoilers alert for another episode we're gonna do. But if my favorite Marvel character, a little green scaly boy, gets recruited to the evil Avengers, that would be my real dream.
But you'd have to get out of the void at the end of time.
He will.
Get Loki
He
on
will.
the Dark
Don't
Avengers.
you even jinx it. He will.
What's his name?
Alligator Loki, I think.
Alligator Loki.
Loki.
Very creative.
The love of my life. Normies, we'll talk him soon. Don't worry.
So for now, I think it's about time we get to our final thoughts on the Black Widow solo film. After this.
Why do you guys do that thing?
Do what?
That thing you do when you're fighting. Like this thing that you do when you whip your hair when you're fighting with the arm and the hair and you do like a fighting pose. Such a poser. You're a total poser.
Not a poser.
Ugh, that was disgusting.
Class is out. Taskmaster says we can go home. We're done talking. The Black Widow. Again, we're giving our final thoughts here. Of the first big Marvel blockbuster we watched at home.
Yeah.
I want to hear you guys too to say, is this the future model? Is Marvel releasing those numbers saying they made 60 million in pay-per-view money, them going, look, we can cut out the middleman here. We don't need you guys anymore.
That's a good question, and it's not great for the theater industry, the movie theater industry, because if blockbusters like this start coming out, like obviously COVID happened, but if it becomes like a thing where all these big blockbusters are coming out on streaming simultaneously, like the movie theater industry is done. Like they can't recover from that.
Even just the negotiation leverage that studios will have over the terms and like the splits on ticket sales. Like movie theaters are going to get screwed. Like if they're like, we could just cut you out completely. It's like, well,
right. It's not looking good for my AMC stock.
I worry about the creative control too of, can an executive just sort of sniff out something like Wonder Woman? I know it was a different situation for 84, but can he kind of go, the buzz on this ain't too good. This is our direct-to-video superstar.
Yeah. And there's, you could have a more lean budget and just, like, if you're purposefully making it, knowing, like, small screen is kind of the target and we can put it in theaters just for fun, like, that could lend into things, too. And then, again, we're just getting back into the studio system where they own the production, the contracts on the actors, and the distribution channel. Like, we're kind of going back to those, the fiefdoms of cinema of old that were finally broken up.
Right.
I mean, I'll flip that, though. Like, if you are going to do this all natively on your own app, you don't have to spend half as much as you do on marketing. You're not sending out posters everywhere. Like, that budget can go right back into the production in a fantasy world where that's what they decide to do. I mean, my thinking is, like, Black Widow, I fucking adored watching it at home. If I could see Shang-Chi at home, I would. If I could see the Eternals at home, I would. But when it comes time for the next Avengers movie, I would go to the theater. The next
Right.
Spider-Man movie,
Gonna
he's my
happen.
favorite. I would go to the theater. You know what I mean? But like, I like the option of, I'm like Ant-Man and the Wasp was the first MCU movie I did not see in the theater. I just wasn't that interested in it. It was a fine movie. I would have paid $30 to sit at home and watch it like I did Black Widow. I don't know if I would have run to the theater for this in a world where it came out in 2020 and there was no pandemic and I was busy that week and I
Well,
just
that
missed
timeline
it.
got pruned.
Right.
And here we are.
Not yet, Mike.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's like the HBO Warner Brothers thing. I don't know if that's sustainable where they're just releasing these big movies for free basically. If you have HBO Max, it's free. Whereas Disney, you have to have Disney Plus pay $30 on top of that. That seems like a more sustainable thing. So the HBO thing, I don't think that's going to be continuing.
You made the joke to us, Jacob. You know, as we're paying these things, Mike's buying up Cruella, I'm paying for Black Widow and stuff. Where you were like, oh, I guess I'm doing Jungle Cruise. But it is funny that we can call out. It is pay-per-view. It's like, I maybe don't want to run out and see Jungle Cruise, so I'm not going to pay the $30.
Yeah, with Jungle Cruise, that's not a movie I would see in theaters probably or pay $30 to see at home, but I will wait until it's free on streaming.
Well, that's
and
what I did
maybe
with
watch it.
Raya, and I ended up loving Raya and the Last Dragon. I waited, and it was great. But the other thing, too, is like, oh, you're going to get the UFC, and then you have everybody come over. One person pays for it, you chip in. Like, you could do movie nights, which still seems much better than going to the theaters in some of these cases. And then you can watch it again on your phone while you're doing the dishes.
In the bathtub, how it was meant to be watched, Mike.
I still
I do enjoy a theater experience. I do. Like, I'm with you, Jacob. I like a theater experience for movies that I'm really passionate about. If it's something where it's like, yeah, I kind of want to see that, I'm less interested in fucking putting on pants and going out and driving and paying $8 for a box of Junior Mints instead of like 99 cents. You know what I mean?
Right. That's why you got to smuggle in food.
It's part of the fun.
But for these artsies too, Jacob, people who are like, God, and these idiots are only talking about comic book movies. Fucking The Green Knight, when the content is matching the expectations, that is, Joe, what you're saying, running out to pay for. When it's like, to listen to you guys talk about Venom 2, where I'm rolling my eyes the entire time, having not seen Venom 1, I'm not paying for that fucking piece of shit.
After our Tom Hardy episode,
dive
in.
No.
It's weird to think about because before COVID, I would at least go to the theater at least once a month, usually more than once a month.
At least.
And then we didn't go to the theater for a whole year. And I mean, I definitely missed it. So I definitely still like the theater experience. I don't want that to ever go away completely. But also the theater's got to turn a profit,
Yes.
So I don't know, but we'll see how it goes.
Here's the other thing. Joe, the person texting and bugging you in the theater is your wife. It's the person you're watching the movie with. It's not me shooting daggers at someone 2 rows away from me. So there's luxuries across the board.
Hey, you got to go to the bathroom? Just pause the movie.
Yes.
I do like that
concept.
And I watch everything with subtitles at home, so I like having the option to put subtitles on because I'm weird like that. But I mean, there's definitely advantages to it, but I don't want theaters to go away completely.
We always have subtitles at my theater.
I don't want them to go away either, but I want the option.
It's niche. It's a niche thing. It's like when we all say, do you want to go bowling? And it blows each other's minds that bowling alleys exist. We're not in a league. We're going bowling once and laughing about it.
I guess if bowling alleys can survive into 2021, movie theaters should be okay going forward in one form or another, right?
Or Quentin Tarantino will buy them all up. Either way.
Right.
He'll buy every one of them. I'll tell you though, I would love to see like the rise of more 4DX experiences. Like if the next Avengers movie, whatever it is, whenever it is like, hey, you can sit in a theater and you're gonna feel Yelena spit on you. I'd be
5DX, Joe. If I go to see the new escape room, I should have to solve an escape room to get into the theater. Up the stakes.
I wonder if.
Make them even more grand.
Premium, they're saying, more grand, more premium. Let me recline, right? Give me a whole ass bench seat. I wonder too.
Right. Gotta
Make
have the
it feel
recliner.
like
Just
you're
make
at
it
home.
feel like I'm at home, exactly. I do wonder too if the rise of the Game of Thrones and the Mandalorians, the $100 million TV show, is also kind of eating their own lunch and creating TV that is just as good as the movies. We're now conditioned to, like Joe said, yeah, unless it's a big event, yeah, I would have loved to see Godzilla versus Kong in theaters because that's something I particularly care about. But for the most part, yeah. I want to watch things at home.
Mike, if some dumbass
I don't
movie
care
theater
about
by
that.
me is like, we're going to show the Mandalorian pilot on the big screen, I would fucking go to that.
I would not.
They'll get that shit.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the numbers around it are so murky, the money numbers, where like we're not going to know exactly how much these movies make. Like Netflix, they don't release their numbers. So we don't know, we don't really know how much if Game of Thrones was a series of movies or something, like they could have made a lot more money. So I don't really know. There's a lot of, it's very complicated.
Time will tell, but yeah, movie theaters, starting at a time where no one owned a television. They didn't even exist for home use. The silver screen to where CRT TVs cannot compete. It's only a matter of time before technology in the home does render them obsolete. The last, I think, year at home has made people more open to the idea of staying home more often than they normally would.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll just have to see how long it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a 65-inch 4K TV. I mean, a movie theater's not that much better than that.
No way.
Not
Sound
to
is a
brag
big
about
thing.
me.
Not when I get my eyes
Yeah,
this
sound is a big
close.
thing you can't get at home unless you're going crazy, especially in an apartment. You don't want to bother your neighbors. But speaking of sounds, how does it sound if we go around and then give our final rating and thoughts on the Black Widow? I guess I can kick it off. I put it solidly in the middle. It's above your Ant-Man 2s for me. It's above, obviously, Thor 2. It's above pretty much every 2 except...
Mike, I hate to cut you while you're just doing that, but I have to get the other take that I want from all of you as well. Is it better than Captain Marvel, the other female Marvel movie? Where does it stand next to that for
here,
you?
Then I say this is also above that. I think it's above Captain Marvel because the performances are better. Samuel L. Jackson's in Captain Marvel, but the side characters as a whole are more entertaining. The protagonist, I think, is more likable. I don't know. I prefer Black Widow to the Captain Marvel, and I put it kind of right above all the number 2s except for Captain America 2. Maybe below. It's above Iron Man 2. It's above Ant-Man 2, and I'm an Ant-Man fan. Yeah, I think it's right in the middle. I think it's like, it's not great. It's just good.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. But there's some issues with it. So that's where I'm at.
For me, I mean, I pretty much agree with you. It's like right in the middle. I tend to, while I like the super spy type stuff, when it comes to MCU, I'm a much bigger fan of the cosmic space stuff. Your Guardians of the Galaxies, your Thor Ragnaroks. Those are like my favorite MCU movies. And I wouldn't put this up there with that, but it's definitely solidly in the middle. It's above your Ant-Man. It's above all your 2s. Captain Marvel, that's difficult. I mean, I don't remember that much about that movie. I only saw it once in theaters. But I remember liking it a lot when I saw it. But I would probably put them both like solidly in the middle. And Captain Marvel has the space stuff in it, so that might give it the slight edge for me personally.
Sure.
Yeah, Jude Law. Oh, hell yeah.
Right.
Your favorite.
Joe?
I would give it 3 out of 5 spiders. I'd put it like just under the top 10. I think I liked it more than Captain Marvel, but I think Captain Marvel might be one of those rare instances where I like the second one better than the first one. So yeah, I mean, I would put it. I enjoyed it. What it really left me like with a hankering for is like a secret Avengers movie, which unfortunately I just don't think we'll ever get unless they decide to do one of these like displaced, one-shot annual issues, which I'm here for. Make it feel more and more comic booky.
Colin?
You know what this movie is, guys? It's a really good group project. You get the idea that Scarlett Johansson hired everybody she needed to hire and constantly said to them, "You have a take on this, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, my take is what your take is." And she's like, "Oh no," because she,
Right.
doesn't really,
Colin.
like I said, know what she wants to say. Yeah.
we also didn't mention. So you mentioned the director, but we didn't mention the writer Jack Schaefer, who also wrote WandaVision, and this was supposed to
Now-
obviously come out before WandaVision.
Those Marvel shows, even Captain Soldier, which I really raked over the coals. I think it's the worst thing Marvel's put out in a long time. We've learned a lot about the fact that they had to cut an entire epidemic plague
Right.
storyline. Maybe that's why it has pacing issues. That would be fair. But Jacob, the first one of those, WandaVision by Jack Schaefer, is about something. That entire show is about grief. Awesome. Okay.
Right.
Loki, that entire show is about identity. It's about who are you? Who are you to yourself? Who are you to others? You know, it asks these
Right.
incredible questions. Captain America and Winter Soldier is, what is history's place in the modern world? And again, it's Marvel doing these heavier topics where you're like, okay, they don't nail it, but that is fucking interesting. And this is a lot of family stuff. You could argue there's already been Marvel stuff that's about family stuff. You could argue that the Nat in Endgame, who tells Captain America we have to try to go back in time because all those people who are dead were the only family I've ever had. That kind of doesn't make much sense anymore to me personally. I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. You seem very happy with these other people at this point.
Right. Well, and Colin, would you
Just
say,
weird? Yeah.
you know, Guardians of the Galaxy, that's a big family theme, right?
A movie about family
It's
that's
an
really well
unconventional
done.
family.
What is a family? Yes, Jacob, the dysfunctional family. This one I almost said it's like a divorced family that had foster kids. What would that experience be like? And you're like, I don't know. Do you? And they're like, no, we don't really know either. And you're like, oh, well, okay.
If
Right.
your foster parents turned you over to human trafficking assassins, could you forgive them one day and work together?
Yeah.
Is an interesting
I don't
question,
know.
Mike. Does this film answer that question? I'm not positive it does.
I almost wish this movie was gonna get a sequel. Like, this movie should have came out in 2017, and then Black Widow 2 with Scarlett Johansson in her last role as
Yes.
Black Widow.
Even
could have
with
came
the
out
death
now.
stuff, if they were like, it's still like a little prequel thing, here's how we'll handle it, I'd still be like,
Yeah.
that's intriguing because I like all those other characters from her world.
Right. And then we
Yeah.
get some more kind of, you know, you can do more with the family theme and her trying to forgive her foster parents and all that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I said, one character says the most untapped market in the world is young women. And I'm not kidding. My jaw dropped when that was said. Like, it blew me away. And
Well, it's even more misogynistic because the line is the only natural resource. There's two.
oh my
Yeah,
God, Joe, that is
women.
wow, that is
Yeah.
astounding.
dark. It's really dark.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like a really shitty misogynistic
Yeah.
line. I think like that was the point of it mostly.
It's
But
fascinating.
I love where you're taking
that's
it.
fascinating,
Yeah.
you know, and Scarlett Johansson, who I do think is in that Marriage Story mode, where she's like, I'm a good actress. I know I'm a good actress. I was just nominated for an Academy Award. Let me stretch a little. And I think everybody said, including Kevin, yes, you do deserve that. This is your send-off. Thumbs up. Let's do it. And the
Right.
material just doesn't come up to meet her. You know, they like I said, if this was the first draft, I could see them having a meeting where they're like, this thing's headed in a great fucking direction. All the Dreykov's daughter stuff is wild. Let's really build this up. And instead they're like, okay, well, we're billing this movie with Taskmaster as the villain, and she's in 2 scenes. Do you think anybody's
Right.
going to yell at us about that? And they're like, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is the Taskmaster, like the Dreykov's daughter is a great angle that they could have delved deeper into, but then she gets barely no characterization within
You
the
almost
movie,
you want it to be her with the spy stuff in the Black Widows, or her with the dysfunctional family. It's the melding of the two where you're like, neither of these is a perfect movie, but there's interesting stuff on either sides. Run in one direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best thing it does is
That-
seed ideas for other stuff you want. By itself, it's
Right.
Yes.
pretty much strictly connective tissue, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a weird way, because again, I am calling out Kevin Feige for
Yeah.
this, you know, so woke to the point of sexism. Which I think he's done another time, which is that damn girls get it done Avengers scene where they all walk out and go, "She's got help." And you're like, what is happening right now?
It's a little pandering.
Whatever
but
it is.
I do want to say, obviously, a lot of people know about this, but the early MCU movies, they were run by Ike Perlmutter, right? Who
Yes.
misogynistic, didn't want to have women or people of color in the main roles for movies. That's why this movie didn't get made for so long. Now that Kevin Feige, he might go too far at sometimes trying to do something good, but it doesn't work. But it's definitely better now than it was in the early stages of the MCU.
And we should say what a mensch Scarlett is, because for years they've made these movies for 20 years now, guys. When she got her salary to match the other big dogs, when both the Chris's, Robert, Clint, and Scarlett all started getting paid the same amount of money for the work that they're putting in over these movies, all the press to her was, hey, when are you going to get your own? Hey, when are you going to get your own movie? Hey, is Black Widow going to get a solo movie? Every time she was very patient, and she would say, Kevin's kicked it around. I've kicked around. I would love to do it. I'm having so much fun doing this other stuff. And she shot Age of Ultron pregnant. They digitally removed her belly for that. She's managed to do back-to-back huge budget action movies. She's been in the highest grossing movies ever made as a supporting character. And now she gets her shot, guys. That's the main meat of this movie. That's how it was sold to us. And to that hype, it is not successful. But to everything else, I think this is a dang good movie.
And if what it can do is set up the future of a Black Widow 2 for Yelena and other characters in this universe to maybe be more tied into the core, center, then that will be its legacy. Then I think that's a good jumping off point.
Yes.
And hopefully have a superhero landing.
Success.
Yeah, and I think pretty much all of this Phase 4, which is the phase they're in now, has been connecting basically from the end of Endgame to what they're leading into, which will be like the new Avengers, where Spider-Man's going to be a big part of it. And then you have the new Captain America, you have the new Black Widow. So I think it's all leading up to that kind of
Doctor Strange is still hanging out. Benedict Cumberbatch is like the veteran now. But yeah, otherwise we've got all this new blood coming in. It's interesting. Yeah. It's, again, to see other companies struggle to get their cinematic universes off. The Mummy exploded. We saw the glorious end to Zack's reign over at DC. All hail his name. It is impressive that we're on movie 24, and it's Scarlett's. It is. Right. It is that we can still cherry pick people's favorites and go, step up. It's your turn at bat.
For sure.
All right. Well, I think we've done it. We've talked the Black Widow solo film Marvel, right? Normies Like Us. We done did it.
I think we wiped the red from our ledger, Mike. I think it's gone.
Yeah, we're good now. I finished my whole bottle of vodka here, so it's family reunion. Listeners, thanks as always for joining us. Right, be sure to find us on iTunes, YouTube for the video version, and we'll be sure to catch you next time.
Yes.
I guess hosts.
Well, I gotta go. I'm controlled to go back out to the pig barn. So this is General Colin saying goodbye.
Mikhail Romanov.
I gotta go get Colin from the pig barn. Joe Ash.
This is the Red Jacob signing off.
Where do I put in all these buckets? Bye.
Bye. Don't slouch, Normies.
Nice.